Coach, we got a Tiger Sports Network exclusive here, GPAC FB Media Day. You got camp opening in about 10 days. What preparations have you been making as you get ready for the start of the 2011 season?
Well, last couple weeks here, and I guess next week we'll be in staff meetings, getting ready to putting the playbooks together and going through those, reviewing it, making sure everybody's on the same page as far as the coaches and the X's and O's. Met with Coach James the other day on special teams, and he's really revamped everything that we're going to do in the special teams. Not doing anything drastically different, but putting in some new schemes, a new punt, and some different things like that. And all the exciting stuff, getting the locker room set up, getting equipment checked in and checked out, and lockers loaded, and getting ready to go.
You talked about competition in a couple different areas going into camp. Not specifically as far as players go, but what are you looking for in general from players as you are looking for somebody to become a starter or to fill a backup role?
Well, I think as you go through fall camp, you look for the players who are going to consistently perform. To be plain and simple, there are guys that are going to have a good day, and there's going to be guys that are going to have a bad day, but you need the players that are going to play consistently at a high level every time they go out on the field. And unfortunately, you gauge that a lot on mistakes that are made. If a guy continuously makes a mistake or the same mistake over and over, his spot slides down and down on the depth chart as somebody else eventually is going to pass him up. So those are the things that we'll be looking at. Energy is big, which is also a challenge during two-a-days because you're going twice a day. It's hot. Your body is drained and that. And so the guys who are in physical shape, have been working all summer, can continually bring that high energy to each practice.
Now, talking about competition, we look back at last year, and there was a lot of lopsided scores for Doane, both wins and losses. Taking a look at those losses, what needs to change this year for Doane to become competitive on the field and possibly change those from kind of blowouts to either close games or wins?
Well, I think when you look at those, you're right. The 3 wins we had really weren't close games. The games that we lost for several of those ended up at the end being a pretty big margin of victory. In our case, margin of loss. One game I key on is the game we played at home against Northwestern. They're preseason number 7 going into the season and finished just on the edge of the playoffs last year. They were a really, really good team, and we had them at home. We played them for 4 quarters. We had them on the ropes. In the fourth quarter, if a couple things go our way, that's a game we could have won. So we need to find a way to consistently play that way. And one of the things that we did that game, I think there's 2 things that we did. One is we didn't make very many mistakes. And secondly, we kept our energy level at an absolute high for 4 full quarters. If anything bad happened, we didn't let it get us down. We came back and picked ourselves up and got our energy right back up. We showed a lot of mental toughness that we didn't show in a lot of other games, and that's the thing that we have to find a way to do continuously. We've traditionally done that better at home than we have on the road, and that's part of being a mature team, being able to travel well, like a lot of the coaches here have said.
Now, talking about a few things that you discussed during the media day here in Sioux City, let's start out with special teams. You said you're looking for that big play on special teams, or somebody that's going to make that big play. And a few years ago, Doane had a kick returner, D'Artagnan Dare, that could do that. Who are you looking for, or what are you looking for to make that transition to get that kind of player back on the field this year?
Well, I don't know that depends on so much on the player. I think we'll have some players who can handle the ball and field the ball and make plays with their feet. It depends on the other 10 guys doing their job. Blocking, those big plays that you're talking about, the return units, depend on the 10 guys that don't have the football blocking and doing their job all the way through until the whistle blows for the 11th guy to be able to take the ball up the field and cross the goal line. The other things, the other special teams, the punt block, the field goal unit. Field goal, you line up for an extra point, and it seems like a pretty routine deal. You'd rely on the kicker to kick the ball through the uprights, but what you don't realize is those guys in the front line, if any one of those offensive linemen blows his assignment, you have a defensive tackle right up the middle of the field blocking the ball, and it's no good, and you lose games that way. So getting everybody on the same page, finding the 11 guys in each unit that are going to sell out for the unit. Special teams are a very selfless deal. There's not a lot of glory except for the one guy who might return the ball or block the punt or whatever it is. The other 10 guys have to find a way to play with their hair on fire for that one play, and then we're going to have a lot of good things happen.
Now turning to the offensive side of the ball, how important is it going to be to find somebody at running back, an area where you graduated a lot of the yardage that was gained last year? How important is it to find somebody that can be a 20, 25 carry guy, or are you comfortable going in with the committee at that position?
I'd like to find a guy who can be a 20, 25 carry guy. I think when you look at the teams who run the ball very well in our league, take Dakota Wesleyan, for instance, they have a guy. They had a guy who was an All-American running back a year ago, and he carried the ball 25 or 30 times a game. Their other guy carried the ball 10 times. So the teams that do it by committee, it seems like more often than not, the running game is secondary. If they find a guy that can run that many times consistently, they're going to have a solid running attack because they know what they have. They're not finding a guy who's a situational back and that sort of thing. So if we end up having to do that, we'll do it. We'll put the best players in the position to help us win games. But like I said, ideally, I'd like to find a guy who can carry the ball 20-plus times a game, and a guy that people are going to know who he is. The other team's going to game plan around him, and at the end of the year, instead of having 950 yards between three backs, you have 1,100 yards with one back and then 200 yards with the second back, and that's I think that's the way to do it. It doesn't always work that way, but that's what we'd like to do.
An obvious way to make that happen is to have an offensive line that is healthy. Do you feel that you have, one, the depth in case injuries would creep in again like it has in the past couple of years? And two, do you think that there is something to be said about having a cohesive unit, that you have the same starters out there for all 5 starters are the same for all 10 games?
I think that in the offensive line, probably more than any other unit on the field, that cohesiveness, if you can have the same group out there, even if you're playing with a bunch of young guys, eventually they're going to gel together. And I think we have enough talented offensive linemen now that if we can keep those 5 guys on the field throughout the season, it's going to be a very good unit. Depth is still a concern. I think we have a couple of guys that can come in and help and are ready to play. I'd say knowing what we have coming right now, I guess without knowing exactly what's coming in with the young kids, we probably, out of the 5 offensive line spots, 7 or 8 guys who could probably line up right now and play. I think there will be 5 who are going to be the 5 who are probably going to be a step above the other 2 or 3 guys that can help us. And then I think there's going to be a younger group that's going to be the JV group that probably needs a year before they're ready to go.
Now, defensively, you mentioned that there's going to be a scheme change. Don't necessarily want to share it with anybody, so that it's kind of a surprise going into the season. But with the players that you have on the team now, have they bought into the idea of this new scheme? And for fans out there on that first game against Briarcliff, what are they going to notice the most, other than just the way everybody's set up?
Right. Players have bought in wholeheartedly, and I think with that, a couple reasons. It's a fun defense. It's a 3-man front. There's a lot of blitzing involved, so players like that. They like to be active and not just line up and play the same thing every single down. Our struggles the last couple of years on defense, we needed to do something different. And I think anything that we can do after last season to give our kids a chance to be more successful, they're all open for. So in spring ball, like I said, they bought into it. It's a faster defense. I hope that's what fans will see when they watch us play, is that there's more speed on the field. Our players are running better, covering more ground. We're not giving up the big plays. And even though it's a 3-man front versus a 4-man front, I think with our personnel, it's going to be a better run defense than what we've played. We'll rely more on the linebackers, but where we're at right now, that's our strength.